looking at the back end, the business end of the Miller American, that turbine cone, and I see that the rudder is mounted on the right-hand side for today's racing. A sign that they want to lean that boat through the corners quite a lot, utilizing the relationship between the rudder and the skid fin to balance things out. A good combination. Here's one with the rudder almost in dead center, and that is the tunnel hull of the Tempest U-17. And Jack Schaefer pulling away from the pit area, getting ready to go in Heat 1B. Qualified just this morning at just 100 plus, just over the wire. This is an interesting design. That hull is actually one that has two sponsons that run the full distance of the entire hull's length. That's the 5-minute gun, if you picked up the sound of it. And there goes the Jackpot Foods out of the pits. We also saw Mitch Evans in the Rapid Transit pull away from the dock a moment ago.
Heat 1B, excuse me, Michael, is brought to you in part by the Seattle Street of Dreams, Washington's premier luxury home tour. And by Schultz Distributing, keeping the Northwest moving with great Chevron lubricants. And by your local Goodyear dealers. Brought to you by your local Goodyear dealers. You save now on the best of all season radials. Seafair thanks High Grade Ballpark Franks for sponsorship of Heat 1B.
Scott Pierce, who is, of course, our colleague, is in this one and has climbed aboard his Mr. Pringles and has pulled away from the pit area. That's Jack Berry in the KISW Miss Rock. Scott and I and you, Wayne, were talking this morning. Scott looks like he's going to try to stay to the outside. Now, the water conditions have changed a little bit, and the inside lanes have flattened a bit. Scott may change his mind here. He prefers the inside. So does Chip Hanauer. That's the shortest way around the track, and if your boat hangs on the skid fin while through the lower corner and doesn't bear out on you, that's the best place to be. But it's not always the smoothest place to be, and if that's the case after the churning occurs here within the 5-minute gun, he may want to stay to the outside. Chip, of course, is going to try to stay on fresh water as well and stay as far out of the way as possible from traffic, and he'll want to be able to start clean too, so we'll see how that thing's set up. Let's talk about the drivers we've got in this particular one. Mitch Evans, who drives the Rapid Transit, of course, is not a rookie. He's been around a few years. His dad, of course, Norm Evans, is a name that everyone knows here in the Seattle area. This man, Scott Pierce, his father, of course, was the fellow who, interestingly enough, has the history of having had one of the oldest boats in the pits today as an owner, which was at that time the Park was O-ring Miss and is now the Crab Legs, and so Scott is seeing almost the history of his life there in the small peninsula. Also in this one, of course, we have Chip Hanauer. And Chip is driving the Miller American and would love to win his first race in 1987. He has not been successful so far this year. A very frustrating year. He is the defending champion of the Seafair, but he's not so sure he's going to be able to defend it successful today, he said. In addition to that, we have Jerry Hopp, Vietnam veteran, good driver, strong driver in the Jackpot Foods. However, he has been having to see a lot of transoms. He has never been a front-running driver, but he is paying his dues as the sport requires. Coming now up on that 2-minute mark, and now drivers begin to watch drivers, coming to conclusions about where they will make their starting run, and then committing to those conclusions, right or wrong. And sometimes they are dead wrong, and that can cause all kinds of problems. But inside this last bit of time, you're going to watch Chip Hanauer key on our man Scotty Pierce. In fact, the two of them are now beginning to cat and mouse a little bit.
Now, how do the drivers know exactly how much time is remaining to the start?
They actually don't even pay any attention to the chronometer on the barge. They have it right there in their cockpit. They watch that. That's the only official clock for them, although it is not an official clock, and if they're wrong, they're going to wind up jumping the gun. But if they're right, and they usually are, their starting sequence will be timed entirely off their own wristwatch. Scott Pierce moving up the back chute now. That's the boat that's circling toward the inside of the course there as the spiral action begins to occur at about the mid section of this 2-mile course as we come up on that 1-minute gun, the time ticking down. As you see there, 1 minute and 10 seconds. We have 5 boats on the race course, and we're supposed to have 6. Where is the 6th boat?
Let's check around the pits very quickly and at least get a verbal word back. Anybody find a boat that has not started? There's the 1 minute gun, and we only have 5
Tempest
boats.
which did, but it is not now running. The Tempest is not now running. So we will have a 5-boat heat, because if you're not on the course and running by the 1 minute gun, which you just heard, you don't get to race anyway. Tempest is down, and so it'll be a 5-boat start. On the inside track is the Pringles, as you can see from Chopper 7, but trailing the Pringles. Or pardon me, it is the Miller American, and trailing the Miller is the Pringles. Everybody bunching up in there. Again, they're a little low on the throttle, as you see 30 seconds coming up on the clock. A little low on the throttle. Has to do with that very short chute before the start-finish line. Now they'll begin to step on it. Scott Pierce on the outside is beginning to bring his acceleration up, beginning to bring his RPMs high. He's going to want to be as high and as hot as he possibly can for the start line charge, and it looks like he's got great positioning on the outside. Excellent positioning on the outside. Jerry Hopp in lane 1. It's Chip Hanna lane number 2. Jack Berry in lane 3. Mitch Evans in lane number 4, and in lane 5 and wide on the outside, and a good start charge. He's going to be right on the money. Scott Pierce takes it across the line. Mr. Pringles got an excellent start, and he's going down into that first corner in just terrific shape. As we look at the lower corner now, there goes Scott Pierce through that turn. On the inside lane now, establishing some position, is Chip Hanauer in the Miller American, trying to pull out. The 2 turbines will square off now, side by side. On the inside, it's Chip Hanauer. On the outside, it's Scott Pierce, and a good duel. Look at the acceleration of the Marine turbine on the outside as the Pringles keeps the pace by 1 or 2 boat lengths. Now Chip begins to move up. The Miller American has the inside lane advantage, has good cornering characteristics. Scott will have higher RPM, will move to the outside, and higher inertia. Let's see what happens now. Both taking it wide. Nobody painting buoys here. Chip tightens up off the corner. Scott has the RPM advantage, though. Both boats still strong. Here comes the Miller American at the end of lap number 1 with the Pringles charging hard on the outside.
Well, that's nice racing. That's good to see. Lap 1 of the Miller by, 3 boat lengths?
That it was, and there's about 40 feet separating those 2 boats horizontally between them as they go through that lower corner. Looks like just a single boat there. There are the 2 rooster tails. The boat that's in the center of the screen or to the right is the Miller American. On the outside, moving hard, it is the Mr. Pringles. We've got a great 2-boat duel for first and second in Heat 1B of this Seafair. Miller American and Mr. Pringles. Beautiful boat racing. The back chute seems reasonably smooth. Both boats handling it nicely. The Miller America airing out just a little bit, and therefore not running quite as hard as Chip can this deep into the chute. Here we go into the corner now. Lap number 2 we're on. The boat in the center of your screen, right there now to the right, is the Miller America. On the outside is the Mr. Pringles, Scott Pierce, and Chip Hanauer. 2 laps side by side now since the start line charge. Excellent boat racing in this Seafair. And they come across the line literally a boat length apart as far as distance is concerned, as you saw from Chopper 7. And that's Crew Chief John Walters looking on, carefully looking on. In 3rd place overall going into the north turn, we have Mitch Evans. Pardon me, that is not Mitch, that's Jerry Hopp. In 4th place, Jack Berry, and in 5th place overall, we have Mitch Evans. Let's look now through the lower corner on our reverse angle as the Mr. Pringles and the Miller American are still locking up, lashing up on lap number 3. An excellent 2-boat duel, side by side, deck to deck, good speeds as well. Still maintaining the inside lane is the Miller American, a covered cockpit. A covered cockpit versus an open cockpit. Both turbine boats. One a Lycoming aircraft engine, the other a Lycoming marine engine.
This is what many of the people come to see, some good boat racing. You don't always get it, but this heat, take a look. This is as good as it gets coming down the start-finish line for the 3rd time.
At the end of lap number 3, a dead heat again, side by side. Absolutely side by side.
Oh.
And the lanes maintained exactly as they started. A good outside starting charge, excellent timing to the line for the Mr. Pringles. Not quite able to draw the acceleration that the Miller American is, however, and Scott timed it nicely. A couple of bad bounces, though, for the inside boat, which is the Miller American, as that turn is starting to tighten up and get a little on the rougher side. Up here in the north turn now, you're seeing Jerry Hopp trying to fend off Jack Berry, the rookie, and Jack has gotten by him finally into 3rd place overall. The Miller American, meanwhile, your lead boat has begun to pull away there as you see that boat now moving into traffic. We're going to have a little problem with Mitch Evans out there. The Miller American now is going to come up on the lagging rapid transit. We'll see what that traffic does. They spread out just a little bit now. Scott not giving quite the pursuit he was earlier. Miller American going by the outside of the Rapid Transit, no problem. Here comes the Miller down in lap number 4. One more to go for Chip, and the race has begun to strung out now, about 500 feet between the boats.
What do you think happened there now? They were side by side, hull by hull, and now it's about a 400-yard lead. Do you think maybe somebody in Mr. Pringle's camp said, Scotty, let's make the final?
Yes, I think Bill Worcester, who's on the radio just about 100 feet from us on the barge here talking to his driver, said, okay, now let's not break anything.
Yeah.
It looks like he wants to race. This is the first heat. Give him what he wants. You got plenty of afternoon left to race. And it looks like that's exactly what Scott has done, because the Miller American, you see it there, is now pulled away. It's got about a 900-foot lead on the second place boat, which is the Mr. Pringles, as Miller goes to the north turn for the last time in Heat 1B. The Mr. Pringles is just approaching the three-quarter mark of the back chute. The other two boats ahead of the Miller are Jack Berry in the KISW Miss Rock and Jerry Hop in the Jackpot Foods. Out to the outside of Jerry now and coming down to get the checkered flag. Here's the Miller American, winner of Heat 1B of this Seafair. A nice hand from the fans on the beach. They like this one. And here comes Scott Pierce now to get the checkered flag, and he'll pick up 300 points in this Heat 1B. In third place overall, Jack Berry is rounding the south turn now. There you see him off in the distance. And he is on his final lap of this Heat 1B. He is followed by Jerry Hop, and lagging almost a full course length back is the Rapid Transit, which is not faring so well at this point with Mitch Evans at the wheel. Jack Berry there coming down the back chute. There in the lower left of your screen, moving now to the upper turn, the north turn. The boats are moving from the south to the north in this shot. And there's the cool-off lap underway now for the Miller American. Chip now with 400 points. Very few races this season has Chip gone through his first heat of the day and been scored. So this is a good sign for the Miller American. Coming down to take the checkered flag for the first time in Seattle, Jack Berry. The KISW Miss Rock picks up 225 points and crosses the start-finish line right there. And he's got to be very happy about that. This is a real exciting trip for him to be driving an unlimited hydroplane in Seattle, where he grew up. And finishing fourth place overall with 169 points, Jerry Hop driving Al Thorson's Jackpot Foods. The cool-off lap over for the Miller American. She heads back to the pit area now as the wind picks up a little bit out of the north and east. There's the Jackpot Foods heading down to her cool-off lap. Not a bad finish for that boat. And the Miller American, look at that cockpit. It looks a little bit like there ought to be a guy in a brown uniform with a German Shepherd and a bag of money coming out of that, huh? It looks like a Loomis armored car. And Mitch Evans will get scored, will finish, checkered flag out on the barge for the Rapid Transit. Ran into some problems and just wasn't able to be competitive in this heat. So 5 finished, 6 started. We lost the Tempest before the 1-minute gun, and Jack Schaefer was unable to get his boat in the show. There's one more opportunity, of course, in the next draw of heats for that operation. Now singing a swan song, it appears, from the Hickling team from Bellevue, and such a long historical relationship to hydroplane racing in Seattle that Hickling team has had.
You always wonder, though, when you mention this particular sport, you're always going to be mentioning Hickling because of the history that they've had in the background. Jack Berry, with his hand in the air, comes in. There's Scotty Pierce, our co-worker today.
And I might remind you, too, that hydroplane people retire like Ray Leonard.
Yes, about true. Heat 1B was brought to you in part by Seattle's Street of Dreams, Washington's premier luxury home tour. Heat 1A brought to you in part by Seattle's Street of Dreams, Washington's premier luxury home tour. Chip Hanauer being mobbed in the pit area by the Miller American boat as they pull out to shore, and they will crane it out of the water. About 14 crew people involved with that, with the official uniforms on. Seafair thanks High Grade Ballpark Franks for sponsorship of Heat 1B. So the beer boats successful with 400 points each, the Budweiser and the Miller. They are the two that are expected, of course, to be the boats to beat today. The Bud #1 favorite. And then, of course, the Miller American. Even though it's had a disappointing year, they kept it in the shop an extra day, did not even bring it here on Thursday, brought it in Friday, ran 130 miles an hour. They felt they had plenty left in that. And these are the two boats to beat. Although, Mr. Pringles, I'll tell you something, Scotty Pierce, I can't wait to get him on our microphone. We'll have one of the guys grab him immediately, because I just feel that he was called off by Bill Wooster. They were running side by side. It didn't look like the boat lost anything whatsoever. And I think that they just simply said to themselves, let's pull this back here a little bit and save whatever we have, and let's go for it in the feature. That's where the money is.
The more often you go around, the rougher the course gets, the better the chance is for some damage or some attrition. You don't want that. You got to get scored to get to the final. It all hangs out in that one anyway, and you don't get that kind of a radio message.
Right.
But until that time, it's a good idea to be conservative, and it appeared that Chip had come to race. He very definitely wasn't going to give up anything. Well, here's your finish order now. Chip Hanauer, the U00, he picks up 400 points. Scott Pierce in the U8, the Mr. Pringles, he's got 300. Jack Berry, nice finish for Jack, and he was excited about it. Went by here and waved to everybody on the way back to the pit area. He liked it. The U100 KISW, Jack Berry with 225 points. Jerry Hopp, the U7. There's a famous number. Notre Dame's had the U7. The U7 finished 4th overall, 169. Mitch Evans got a 5th for 127 points, and Jack Schaefer just didn't get into the show. DNS did not start for the Tempest.
Started this morning, went out qualified at just over 100 miles an hour, 101.1, but then when it came time to crank it up, there just wasn't anything there, and he didn't have an opportunity to get in it. So Rapid Transit does take the 5th spot in that heat, and at the time there was some pretty good racing for that 3rd, 4th, and 5th spot.
So the Miller American with 400 and the Bud with 400 are your top flight boats. No surprises so far.
Steve Rabel in the pits.
All right, Jack Berry is taking a quick look at his boat, the KISW FM 100. Just qualified, and as you said, Mike, a nice job qualifying this boat. He's checking. I think he's checking out to see if the 10,000 signatures underneath are still on there. Jack Berry, congratulations. Nice drive out there on a boat that you looked like you had a bit of a problem getting started as you pulled away from the finger pier.
Oh, I just loaded it up a little bit. It cleaned right out, no problem.
Second race for you.
Right.
What was it like for you out there? Heart beating a little bit as you pulled away?
Yeah, we knew what we had to do when we went out there. We wanted to run with Hopp and Evans and Jack Schaefer, and we ran out, or the nitrous valve malfunctioned, and I had no nitrous whatsoever. I come off the exit pin to come down to the starting line with everybody, hit the button, and it just died. So I had to come from behind on the outside with no nitrous, but we had the power to go around them.
So no nitrous for the entire race. Coming up then in your next heat, if you get the nitrous problem fixed, you'll get a little more power out of this boat.
Oh, definitely. If we go against, Frank Canny or Madison or somebody, we're going to need it. So we're going to have to take the valve apart and see what we can find wrong with it.
All right, Jack, good luck. Congratulations on a nice drive out there, your second drive overall.
Thank you.
All right, let's go to Ron Callan now, who has the winner of this heat, Chip Hanauer. Ronnie?
Thank you, Steve. Chip Hanauer, 1B, the winner. For 3 laps, it was pretty tight, but it looks like you came to the race today.
Yeah, it worked out well. I think both Scott and I were just looking for water to run in. It's real rough, and just as we've been talking here, the wind started to come up, so I think it's going to build all afternoon.
Of course, you've been worried about how your boat's going to perform. I noticed you talking to your crew chief. He's saying real good as you came in. I guess things are working out better than last weekend, right?
Yeah, it's getting better, but elimination heats and final heats are 2 different situations, so we'll just have to go race and see.
All right, Chip Hanauer, winner of Heat 1B. Let's go to Wayne Cody now.